Blog Talk Radio.
Ninja itself, if their job as a ninja was to go out, gather information, and bring it back, there's a connection. So we know that ninja can be a low level, and ninja can be high level. The reason we know this, the reason we have a connection to the high level, is because it's written in the Bansen Shukai, and it does state in the Bansen Shukai that the ninja or the shinobi should only talk to the headmaster. Well, at that time, in this age that we're talking about, when we started, I said we want to make sure that we're in the feudal era here, where before the unification of Japan, the lower class people never talked to the higher class people. So if you were a high class, you could talk to the daimyo. If you're of low class, it wasn't going to happen. You were probably going to be talking to the head of the ashigaru, or the leaders of the ashigaru, because they're the ones giving you orders. If you're above this particular rank and you're somewhere in the samurai class and you're of shinobi, then you're probably going to be talking to the daimyo, or the head of. Now, the Bansen Shukai does state that only the shinobi can talk to the daimyo one-on-one, and nobody in the clan is to know who the ninja is or who the shinobi of the clan is. It's complete and utter secrecy. No one's supposed to know except for those two. Yeah. So when we read this in the Bansen Shukai, you get this idea, this feeling that it's very strict, if you will, of very secretive, and only high-ranking people can be trusted with the daimyo. So because of that, this is where we get the idea. Clearly, ninja were at low level. You could be a low-level soldier and be ninja. You could be high-level soldier and be ninja across the board. And at one point, they had to be samurai. This is that connection, definitive connection. Now, when you read historical text, okay, I'm going to back up 1 second. For the people who don't know what the Bansen Shukai is, the Bansen Shukai, just want to say this, is a lot of people believe that this is the Bible of ninjutsu. So there are three really huge texts, four really, but the three most well-known texts is the Ninpo, the Shoninki, and the Bansen Shukai. Those are the three main texts that people or historians research when they're trying to research the ancient ninja. Okay, so the Bansen Shukai is a huge historical resource when we're talking about what happened at that time. Now, when you read the historical text, there are different names that come up for soldiers, such as Bushi Shinobi, which means like samurai ninja, Ninshi, which means like ninja warriors, or Ninpei, which means shinobi soldiers. But the idea here is that it's clearly written. It wasn't just, clearly we have Bushi, samurai. We also have ninja or shinobi. But there's also all these other words like Bushi Shinobi, Ninshi, Ninpei. Well, clearly that means that there is very possible that you could be samurai and could be ninja, or both, or lean kind of heavily more on one side than the other, and still work for your daimyo. Okay. So a lot of times people, they get wrapped up, and they're, no, a ninja was this, and they dressed in black, and they only did this, and the samurai lived by a strict code, and no, it's not that easy. You're talking about a warrior class where it wasn't that definitive. It's very possible that you could be samurai and still follow orders and practice ninjutsu if you were ordered to. Or you could be ninja and then at some time be samurai if that was your order. So samurai could practice ninjutsu, because keep in mind, ninjutsu is a set of skills that you have been trained in. Samurai as a class. Ninjutsu is a set of skills.
Okay. Just one quick question before we continue on. Why do you think that as years pass, the samurai has looked upon as the more defined expert or good, and the ninja is defined as or looked upon as a mercenary or evil or bad? And that's the way it's looked in the public eye, you know.
Right. It is, yeah. I think, I really think that it started with, well, I could tell you where I think that where the whole ninja versus samurai idea started. As far as the ninja being good and the samurai being good and the ninja being bad, I think that really started with the comic books, after, and the dramas in the Edo period and going with the comics and the cartoons, going into the Meiji era and all that kind of thing. I think that's where it really started. There's a lot of comics that, keep in mind, the ninja boom in America was in the 80s, but it was in the 60s in Japan. There was a huge boom there with cartoons and comics and things like that. So I think that really did it because, everyone likes the whole idea of good versus bad. I mean, it makes every movie we watch, it makes every cartoon interesting and every story, So for some reason people like to, it's ironic, but it's true. People like to choose sides, and, the funny thing is I'm not quite for sure that there really is a side. I think a lot of people...
Right, okay.
Right, yeah. So I think that's where it started. The idea of samurai fighting ninja, I think that goes a little bit further back. In fact, I think where that started was in the Battle of Iga no Ran, or the Battle of Iga, if you will. A lot of people, a lot of schools will tell you that this was, Oda Nobunaga is so mad at the ninja, he's going to flood Iga, and just, he was so mad about how, he couldn't control the ninja, and all these, fantasy stories about Oda Nobunaga fighting ninja and flourishing through the whole Iga and smothering everybody. Well, not that didn't happen. He did go through Iga and do that. However, when you look at the history side of it, not much is really written in the war chronicles about Oda Nobunaga fighting a bunch of people that was doing ninjutsu. Because again, ninjutsu is, espionage, it's counter-intel, it's this sort of thing. What happened in Iga and Koka, it's surrounded by mountains. It was this mountainous range, okay? And it was an area that wasn't governed. No one really owned it. Where everything else had daimyo, you had people that ran it and had some, even if it was a small part, they still had some sort of governing effect to it, even if it was just like, a small lord, if you will. No one really owned that area, and it created a lot of havoc. So Oda Nobunaga was going to just go through and take it all over. It happened to be the birthplace of the ninja. So here you have one of the most powerful samurai flow through the whole area and wipe them all out. And because it was Iga, the heartland of the ninja, a lot of people associate that with it was Oda Nobunaga's vicious attacks towards the Iga ninja. I'm not quite for sure how historically accurate that is. That's where people get the idea. In my opinion, I think that's where people get the idea that the samurai hate the ninja. I don't know how historically accurate that is. Again, I think that he wanted to take over that land, and that land just happened to be Iga. Another thing that I think is very important to know, it wasn't ninja versus samurai. Every daimyo had ninja. Every daimyo employed ninja. So there was no such thing as ninja hating samurai and samurai hating ninja. I mean,
right. That seems like the misconception right there, yeah.
Yeah, such a misconception because then you've got, they're not fighting in their own clan. I think, and again, that goes into the samurai of another clan clearly didn't like the ninja of the clan they were fighting because they were scared about it because, you'd have the ninja who were going over and they would dress themselves up or they would go over and train and try to, get in good with the other group or whatever they would do to gather as much information, even if they had to, impersonate the other side and live with the other side and become one of their friends, So they were constant in fear, if is someone over here a ninja, you would never know who was the ninja. You would never know that. It wasn't specifically one soldier versus another soldier. It was clan versus clan.
Okay.
That's where it was.
The ninja was known as the stealth. They did. How would they perform stealth operations? I would say in public places.
What they would do is a ninja would the two most important skills of a ninja would be yonin or inen. Now, yonin and inen, both of them are infiltration. A lot of people will tell you yonin is infiltration during the day and inen is infiltration at night. Not wrong, but it's not completely correct. Yonin is infiltration in clear sight. What that means is people can see you. That doesn't mean they know who you are. That means they can see you. So, like if I'm walking down the street and I'm a spy, clearly I'm walking down the street and people can see me. No one just knows I'm a spy. So that in itself is a form of stealth, right? Now, yonin, the infiltration, we're going to use the term infiltration during the day, but infiltration in sight was only done by higher class ninja. This is what's stated in the Bansen-shukai. But to do this, they're going to have to use the skills of what we call the shinobi nanabake. And what this is the disguises, if you will, and this comes out of the Shoninki, but it also is cross-referenced to some of the other historical texts. Basically what that is, you're going to dress up like the area you're going to go. I mean, it makes sense. If you're going to go into a town that everyone wears red hats and you want to fit in, you're going to wear a red hat, right? I mean, right. So that's the idea of, I'm really bringing it down to an elementary level, but historically they would dress up, like kumoso, yamabushi, akendo, hakushi, things like this, which is basically like monk, mountain aesthetic, merchants, actors, street entertainers. They would dress up like the typical thing you would see on every street at that time. And that would just give them complete access to just walk through a village or walk through areas without being seen, because it's just a merchant, just someone trying to sell you something, or just a street actor who's, trying to entertain you a little bit. So no one really paid that close of attention. Yeah, so that was one way of actually moving through without being detected. Now, the other one we're talking about is inen, and that's infiltration. A lot of people say at night, but it means unseen. This is the stereotypical ninja iconic image that we build up in our head. So inen is the skill, it's the skill of you can't see me. So this is the black mask and the black outfit, or the shinobi shizoku, right? So clearly, if you're going to be doing yonin, you'd be disguising yourself like somebody or like the crowd or whatever. And if you're going to be doing inen, you would be camouflaged. You'd dress up like a shadow, very dark colors. You're going to be in the rafters. You're going to be somewhere where no one can see you. So, and this was done by the lower class. This was the lower class ninja did that. So again, and we talked about the Tori Sunman, right, where their job was to go out, this low-level Ashigaru, their job was to go out, gather information, and then come back. Now, the classical ninjutsu stealth, like stealth walking, definitely hot. The stealth walking like Nuki Ashi, Suri Ashi, Shimi Ashi, Tobi Ashi, I could go on and on, Ko-ashi, Kazumi Ashi, Waki Ashi. I could go on with all the different stealth walks that there are. Each one was specifically different to fit the area that you were in. But the stealth walking is to be able to utilize and shift your body weight to not make a sound on certain flooring, certain areas. It didn't matter whether you're outside or inside. That's what the stealth walking is for. And again, there is one of the walk called Sunashi, which just means normal walk. And I know this, what do you need to walk normal for? Well, the idea, again, imagine if you're going on a mission and you're supposed to be in public, if you will. Right. Your nerves are going, boy, you got to control your nerves. You're getting ready to do something. Your life is on the line. Literally, the ninja kanji itself is blade over heart, which, means nin. You're constantly putting yourself in danger. So, your nerves are going nuts. How do you walk normal when everything about you? That's the training, is to be able to mentally be able to do that. So the idea of normal walk is actually one of the stealth walks. But anybody can walk normally. Can you do it in that situation?
Right.
That's where training comes in, right? Yeah.
Okay. Question I was going to ask about samurai is the weapon of choice. In the, public eye, or I guess today, we see samurai as using the katana. That was their weapon of choice. And but you do your research, you found out a little bit different. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah. And again, that's the iconic image. Then the samurai was the weapon of choice for the samurai was the katana. It's not true. I think more towards the end of the run that may have been true, but the actual main weapon of the samurai was the spear and the bow and arrow. In fact, bu itself, the kanji for bu, means deflecting the spear. So the spear was the main weapon. That was the spear and the bow and arrow were the two main weapons of the samurai class. Yeah, the weapon of choice for the samurai historically was the spear and the bow and arrow.
Okay, and then
from there would have been the sword.
Okay, so it really wasn't the katana as we see in, modern-day films, as they portray the samurai as being an expert with the katana.
Right, yeah. Yeah, no, well, they were experts with the katana, and when they weren't at war, that's what they carried. They carried, the katana, the wakizashi tanto, they carried their swords at their side. So I think the iconic image and where they get this, the katana is the main weapon, because when the samurai wasn't at war, all they wore was their katana. All they wore was a blade, yeah. But when they went to war, the last thing you want to do is be in a sword duel that close. And if you can get them with a spear, that's much more beneficial, So, yeah, when they went to war, the main weapon at war was the spear and the bow and arrow. But when they wasn't at war and the samurai was walking around, what the public saw was samurai with the katana. So the image of that is where that came from.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.